What I will say is that the person coming in probably will have a lot of experience, because the only thing, the knock on Coach Thibodeau, was the fact that he has never been to an NBA Finals. You're probably going to look for a guy with NBA Finals experience, championship pedigree, to try to get you over that hump that seems like he never was able to.
Championship experience is great, but he doesn't have any experience with this group. Yeah. So either way, you're bringing in championship experience from the past with an entirely different group, and you're trying to match that to this new team. To me, it just doesn't make sense.
It's tough.
In the New York Knicks statement that they just put out a couple of minutes ago, they underscore, right, that the reasoning that they are giving publicly here is we are singularly focused, they say, on winning a championship for our fans. And I think with the injury to Jason Tatum, a lot of teams have looked around at the Indiana Pacers and said, okay, if the Pacers can win this with a collective of very good players, a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference, I'm hearing right now, are looking around and saying, why not us? Why can't we kind of replicate that sort of recipe here? Our Kendrick Perkins is here as well. I know, Perk, that you have a reaction to this.
Sinead, no. Tibbs didn't deserve to lose his damn job. We're not going to do this. And Malika, you remember our production call that we had after game 2? And you remember I said,
all blur together,
we had a lot, but after game 2, when Karl Anthony Towns was benched, I told y'all on the production call, I said, if they lose this series, it may cause Tom Thibodeau to lose his job, right, because of the game 2 and the benching of Karl Anthony Towns, because of the relationship that Karl Anthony Towns have with Leon Rose and World Wide West that goes all the way back to the Kentucky days. Here's my problem with the firing, right? What was Tom Thibodeau supposed to do? Karl Anthony Towns, he started off the series, bro. He put you in the pick and roll. He switched it. You were getting cooked in the switch. So he tried to make an adjustment, and he tried to challenge the guards to fight over the screens a little bit harder and put you in the drop coverage. You was getting cooked in that as well. You wasn't getting back in transition. Jalen Brunson, outside of game 5, what was it, 68% of the time, he was getting scored on. So I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, what was Tom Thibodeau supposed to do at that moment? Right? When your two guys physically don't have it, right? They don't have it. They don't have the athleticism to keep up with the Pacers.
Perk, what I'm trying to illustrate, this is something that you and I both know. Players are the last to go. And when you're in a situation where there's a lot of pressure, there's going to be decisions being made on tinkering around with the players. But we do know that before the blame goes to someone who you voted as All-NBA in Karl Anthony Towns, players are typically the last to go. It's typically the coach. Or even, you know, you see there's a lot of pressure even on the GM in this situation for going all in and getting Mikal Bridges.
And Sinead, I'm glad you brought up that point, because it leads me to this point. Look at the two teams that are in the championship right now that are playing for the NBA championship, right? The Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Both of those organizations are ran by not the players, but the general managers. That's the problem. See, when the players try to take control and try to dictate stuff, it usually don't go right. Like, those days are over when it comes down to players having say-so and picking who they want. We're looking at the Phoenix situation right now. They done fired 2 head coaches in the last 2 years. Championship head coaches.
Perk, you seem real fired up about this. One thing that does make the New York Knicks a little bit of an interesting case study in all of this is they made an enormous trade right before the season. And bringing in Karl Anthony Towns is a huge, when we talked about trading offense for defense, that's what the New York Knicks did in a lot of ways, and that came to fruition. I know the odds had them second, third at getting out of the Eastern Conference before the season, but that's because people love New York. It doesn't necessarily reflect how most people in NBA circles thought of them. I think, Andrea, this is a successful season for New York, but again, now the landscape, people are looking around and seeing that the Eastern Conference, they believe, is wide open.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is the Knicks were already so close this season. They were so close, and Tom Thibodeau now could, if he wasn't just fired, could have a second season to figure out Karl Anthony Towns, to massage that relationship if there is something going on, to try and figure out that relationship. What is Tom Thibodeau known for? His defensive schemes. So his defense struggled this season. Give him a second season to figure it out and figure out how to make Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson work on that end of the floor.
So you seem to think he should have had another year.
Yes.
Perk is saying that no way, that shouldn't have happened. It's come to fruition that he is out. What should the Knicks be looking for in their next coach?
This, to me, was an issue, a failure of personnel. And I think we're going to come back and look at the Knicks and saying, I believe it was 5 picks to get Bridges. Now you make a lot of assets to try to
and everyone's under contract. When you're looking at at OG, Cat, Brunson. Their core, their starters, they are locked in.
Exactly. And on paper, this is a team that does have a lot of potential. Like, we look at OG Anunoby as someone who is an elite defender. You know, the list goes on and on. There's chemistry there. There's synergy there from Nova in the past. But the issue is, based off of Coach Tibbs' style, they built a team around offense. And I think that's why he was under the pressure cooker to see if he could meet his players, whom he had no control of because they made those decisions.
So Kendrick Perkins, what do they need? Who do they need? We've said experience, maybe someone who is offensively minded. I'm thinking about someone we just had on our set recently in maybe, I don't know, a Michael Malone. Perk, who are you looking at that would be the right voice? Because that's what the phrasing is from Leon Rose here. We need a different voice in our locker room. Who is that voice for New York?
I don't know. I mean, it might have to be Michael Malone. I mean, when you talk about championship experience, what other coaches out there, right? Like Michael Malone, he could go in, again, he's from the New York area, right? Like born and raised, grew up, went to high school right down the street from where Kyrie Irving grew up. Yeah, I know my history a little bit down there in New York, but what I'm saying is, again, we go back to the point of, I don't know who they're going to hire. I think Michael Malone right now is probably the best fit if they're trying to win now, because he is the championship level coach, right? He did max out Jokic to get an NBA championship defensively. So he does have what it takes. But I'm looking at OG Anunoby, and I'm looking at a Mikal Bridges, and I'm sorry, Malik, I'm just going back to Shanae's point.
Go ahead.
They supposed to be stoppers. They supposed to be stoppers. Drea, Malika, Shanae, Pascal Siakam won Conference Player MVP. Like, what was OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges did? That wasn't on tips. A lot of his baskets came in isolation and in transition. OG Anunoby's supposed to be one of the best 3-and-D guys in the entire NBA. They paid him over $200 million, not just for his offense, but what he brings his versatility on the defensive side of things. I'm not happy today. I'm not happy today.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that part.
I don't feel like Tibbs should have lost his job.
Okay, and that is perfectly valid. I think it's time to get a little bit of an explanation as to why. We've sort of been pontificating on what we think was the reasoning behind this, but let's bring in the man that broke the news, our Shams Charania. Shams, what more can you tell us about the Knicks' decision-making to fire Tom Thibodeau here?
Malika, James Dolan, the Knicks owner, and Leon Rose, the team president, they believed today and landed on the conclusion today that this team needs a new voice to take the next step to try to win a championship. Clearly, they believed that Tom Thibodeau was not going to be the guy for them to win a championship. And that's been the goal. When you make acquisitions like Leon Rose has made over the last year and a half, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Karl-Anthony Towns, you already have Jalen Brunson, you have a payroll that's getting higher and higher. And if this is the iteration of the team you want to move forward with, they felt like clearly there was something that just was not going to work moving forward. And Tom Thibodeau, 4 or 5 years that he spent there, they were a playoff team. You think about back-to-back 50-win seasons. The amount of success he had in his 5 years as head coach, Pat Riley, who else can you really think about in that same tone when you think about the last 30, 40 years in Knicks history? He had a very successful run, but they feel like they need a new voice in New York that can allow this team to win a championship. And we'll see here over the next few days and weeks who that could be.
All right, so over the next couple of days, the next couple of weeks, that's when the New York Knicks are going to be turning their attention to who could be the next voice, the next steward of this franchise. Because, Shams, we've been talking about this feeling like the Eastern Conference is more wide open than it has been, potentially. But also to tremendous success on the court with 4 playoff berths and 4 playoff series victories. But ultimately, we feel that this is a decision that's best for our organization moving forward. Tom will always be a part of our Knicks family, and we truly wish him nothing but the best in the future here, Shanae.
Look, I feel like it's hard to have it both ways, because over the course of the regular season, we hear so many people, fans, people on this network lament the fact that they play their guys too much or they ride them too much, and then you don't have a bench that's developed, right?
He adjusted that a little bit in the Pacers series.
Yeah, exactly. But then these things have consequences when you fall short, and now you're looking at someone potentially having the blame for maybe not dealing with the players being ready in the moments that you need to. or the defender stepping up in these moments. So it's hard to weigh these things because these actions do have consequences, even though to me it feels unfair because he can only coach the players in front of him, and they have oscillated toward a different style, which is offense, even though his nature is defense.
Well, my thing, though, is he did adjust using his bench more in the Pacers series, so why not give him an opportunity?
But was it too late is the question.
But too late is still an adjustment to make the adjustment earlier next season. Like, maybe that's something he could implement next season. Like, it should be added in that statement. We know that we only gave him 1 year with a brand new group to figure this out, but a year is all that he had. Because to me, a year is not long enough to figure out an entirely new group.
Perk may agree because I see him shaking his head here.
Offense, even though his nature is defense.
Well, my thing, though, is he did adjust using his bench more in the Pacers series, so why not give him an opportunity?
But was it too late is the question.
But too late is still an adjustment to make the adjustment earlier next season. Like, maybe that's something he could implement next season. Like, it should be added in that statement. We know that we only gave him 1 year with a brand new group to figure this out, but a year is all that he had. Because to me, a year is not long enough to figure out an entirely new group.
Perk may agree because I see him shaking his head here.
How dare you? How dare you, if you're the Knicks, to blame Tom Thibodeau? How dare you? Like, we blaming Tom Thibodeau for that collapse that they had in Game 1 when the guys on the floor took their foot off the gas when they blew a, 20-point lead at home in the Eastern Conference Finals? Are we blaming Tibbs for that? Are we going to blame Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns and the guys that contributed to the Pacers coming back and beating them in Game 1? That's who we need to blame. See, it's hard, right? You have Rick Brunson that's on the bench, who's Jalen Brunson's dad, and I'm taking nothing from Rick Brunson. I love him to death, but I got to call it like it is. You have Jalen Brunson, who is dribbling the oxygen out of the damn basketball on the floor. The Knicks are getting their offense set with 15, 16 to go on the damn shot clock. No one else is getting involved. Karl Anthony Towns ain't really touching the ball in the first quarter. But it's Tibbs' fault? I just can't
But
ride with that, y'all.
someone always falls on the sword, and it's unfortunate
we
know this. It tends to be coaches.
Our Bobby Marks just put on social media a really interesting quote from James Dolan. He was on the Roommates podcast in March of 2025, and this is what he said. Dolan said, there were many times when we've sort of reached for that shiny, sparkly object. Maybe this is what we need, especially when things aren't going well. Let's bring in this guy. Maybe he'll turn it around. Sometimes it's players. Sometimes it's a coach. And then he continues. He said, what I've learned over time is it doesn't work. It really doesn't. You have to build the fundamentals, the basics. You've got to build a team. You've got to build an organization. There is no waving a magic wand over a team and all of a sudden it makes a great team. That doesn't happen. This feels closer to a magic wand.
You got to practice what you
want to get a pulse of New York City. There's no one better to check in with than Stephen A. Smith. He will join us after this.